So let's talk about XML and how to work with XML a little bit. We're going to get into some examples on how to read and write XML. Now, if you have a light understanding of XML, I'll go over some of the details and how you can efficiently or effectively work with your XML documents. I do mention quite a lot that you don't have to make things complicated. You don't want to nest things too deeply if you don't have to. But then again, you can do some very, very interesting and quite advanced things with XML, especially with .NET and Visual Studio, and also within the C# world, of course. Now, first of all, we're going to look at an example of XML, just a simple example. I use attributes quite a lot, and we're looking at it within Windows Explorer. You can go into the folder structure to find the example.xml in the debug folder of the XML reader, which is within reading and writing XML. And this particular XML example is just a simple example. You'll note that if you can just drag this file actually right into Windows Explorer. And we'll do that. And it's nice because it lets you go through the nesting of the XML. XML is nested when you have your tags. Just like HTML, you can nest as deep as you want to. The particular thing that you want to work on is work with attributes. Like if you're working with HTML, you know that we have attributes that we can specify in order to adjust the tags. That was kind of the wonderful thing about HTML when it first came out. XML is an extension of that allows us to work very nicely with files. And believe me, I've done a lot of data processing where I have to work with flat files and comma delimited files and tab delimited files and all different types of files where I'd have to process lots of information. I've written lots of C and C++ programs to do things like that. And with XML, it's really a dream. So your attributes are describing the additional properties of your tags that you have here. Like if you have an order, your order is going to have an ID. And then within quotes, you would put the order ID. Additionally, say you had an order, and an order had 4 different items, for example. You can put an item on each line within your XML. And then you can establish IDs and prices and quantities, for example, and then maybe a description in the text area here within the tags. And then you can continue to nest as you need to. So it can be viewed as object-oriented as well. So XML is very, very nice, very, very rich to be able to work with it. In Visual Studio, you can work with XML files as well. We have one here. We just created a new file within any project. And you pick XML right here in the middle. And you can see that you have a data type grid here that you can work with to actually go through and make adjustments to your XML if you wanted to. And you can just view things. For example, if we were to look at the XML itself, you would see it this way. So it's not as interactive as working with Microsoft Explorer, but you do have a data approach to it where you can update the data pretty much with ease. So within those two structures, within those two applications, you can do a lot with your XML within the .NET world and within or for your C# projects. You can also work with XML Spy. XML Spy is from Altova, and it's a very interesting, exciting product that does a lot with XML, which allows you to write really complex XML, and you can validate things as well. So we were to take this right from a text file, because you can just work with a text file too, but it's often better to work with an application. You see that XML Spy allows you to manipulate your XML, similar to Explorer, but in many, many detailed ways, because you have the grid view and you have a text view, as well as all different types of advanced processing. You can also check to make sure that your XML is well formed. So quite exciting ways to work with XML indeed. So just some basics about it. Again, you just want to, we'll look at the Notepad version. You just want to establish your attributes. Make sure you have that space between the tags. Use good XML. Find an XML editor that fits your taste, that you can actually test for completeness, because when you work with XML, you don't want to have XMLs that's badly formatted and then you have to worry about fixing the XML, because when you're processing it within C#, you can test for that as well. But you want to make sure that your XML actually works and is nice and well formatted. The tags are closed properly. For example, XML Spy is great about doing that. If we didn't have a closing tag here, for example, it's going to let us know that it's not well formed and it's looking for a closing element for the order. So make sure your XML is nice and formatted correctly, and this makes working with XML a lot easier to program.